Sure.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Security Policies weekly meeting. Uh, first, Today is November 28th, and the first thing on the agenda is Andy.
Yeah. So we've created an architecture design blueprint for the custom YAML feature. And so it's the first time I'm working with a blueprint, and I think it's a good place to document all the decisions around the feature and also to kick off some discussions. And there was one discussion I wanted to highlight because Fabio, who's the coach for the blueprint from Verify, had the idea to maybe make the custom YAML thing its own category outside of scan execution and scan result policies. And I think that's a good idea. And this is one thing I hope we could discuss in the blueprint, things like that, things we didn't thought about before. So feedback is welcome, or if you want to just read the discussions or chime in, then you're welcome to do so.
What do you mean by outside? Did you say outside specific policy? So
Like,
yeah,
yeah,
go
so
ahead.
we have those two policy types, scan result and scan execution. And Fabio's idea was that the custom YAML thing could be like its own category, like a third one. Like maybe there could be, I don't know, maybe custom CI policy or something like this.
Yeah, I
Like its
can
own
add
type.
on. Yeah, I can add on to that as well. I think one point he was making is that, it from an architecture standpoint, it's like we're trying to just expand on top of the concept of a scan execution policy, which was tailored for executing security scanners. So like since this policy type is very specific right now to scan execution, what we're doing is a lot more generic in that we're adding support for custom YAML, um, which could be for scan execution, or it could be running some kind of custom scripts or creating reports or something wholly different. So from his view, one idea he's promoting is I think that's the intent of an architecture design blueprint, is like look at how we're building for the long term, and like if there's maybe a better approach to create like a new policy type, that way we can build it with that future in mind, and then potentially look at deprecating the scan execution policy type or whatever we do there in the future versus kind of cramming the functionality into the existing type. I think there's some pros and cons since we've got a lot of motivation, or not motivation, but momentum into the direction that we're already going. I think in general, I really like the idea of in the future when we create like new concepts or features, maybe there is a way that we can additively create new types that don't, I guess, force users to change. Like maybe this would be a good way to handle breaking changes. I'm kind of taking this away from this initial point, I guess, but I think there's something to be learned here, and I think this is a good discussion to have to think about where we're going in the future. So yeah, it would be interesting to see everyone's feedback on that.
Thank you for the great explanation. That makes sense.
Yeah, thanks, Andy. Let me know if I miss anything there too. Didn't want to hijack
No,
your.
that describes it perfectly well. Yeah, there are a few more discussions. I just wanted to pick one to highlight and to have an example for what discussions we can have on the blueprint. Yeah, thanks, Grant.
Thank you. And about Blueprint, I believe, Sashi, at some point you've been working on Blueprint as well for design for database, I mean, the read model for database, right?
We had a
You,
blueprint, but it was not following the architectural blueprint pattern that we have currently. It was before this new process even started. I did not convert that into a blueprint back then. So I think possibly we should have to do now after the FCL now.
yeah, we'll talk about FCO in a second. And there's another thing that's a follow-up from the previous discussion. about adding in templates for security policies. Should we get back to that, Andy?
Oh yeah, right. Yeah, I thought this would be more like a yeah, read-only thing. But yeah, we can yeah, I think I can quickly talk through it. So we last week we had the discussion about I remember actually what the discussion was about, but one idea was to oh yeah, to make it easier to onboard or to start working with security policies, maybe like this. And one idea was to add templates like we have in CI YAML files. And so I went ahead and just created an issue for this. So we don't lose this idea and we can maybe discuss it, plan to work with it, or maybe close the issue again. Yeah, just with a just to make sure it's not lost in our yeah, weekly document.
Got it. We can definitely discuss this asynchronously in the issue. I like the idea. But at the beginning, when we were working with security policies and we created this whole idea about keeping everything in a repository, that was one of the ideas, that you could have a policy and share it quickly with others. From product perspective, we never ended up like presenting it as a functionality that someone just can copy paste it. But I believe we could do it. The biggest problem right now is that we're thinking about abandoning repository. I mean, we would like to hide the security policy project at some point of time. So, and if we would like to advertise it, that you can use the templates first or something like that, we need to find a way to do it properly and think about the potential future of this feature, as we'll probably hide security policy project at some point. That's just something to consider. I believe something that Grant will probably think about.
Yeah, I think that's an interesting topic as well. And yeah, I don't know, maybe we may or may not be prepared for a deep discussion on that. Maybe we should have a focused topic. But yeah, one thing that I've had in mind, and maybe something we need to validate with customers, but I think there's so much we gain and so much value that we get out of just using Get and using a repository and having quote unquote policy as code. And I think that plays well with like what we're offering, that I'm hesitant for us to fully depart unless I understand that that's really yeah the right call, and that's what customers are looking for. But I don't know. As I've raised in a couple of discussions, I'm also curious if there's like a middle ground quasi approach where we still have our policy as code, we still have our repo, but we have some way in the database to extract what we want from that and then scale it and handle it from a performance standpoint, or make it easier to present the data that we want without security concerns into the views that we want to present that data. So yeah, I don't know. I think there's a lot to explore there, and definitely maybe we need to have our own dedicated session to just do a bit of a workshop on that once we kind of get through the immediate kind of custom CI YAML support.
Great. Thanks, Grant. Yeah, let's do it then. All right, let's move on. I believe I have the next item. Let me quickly talk about that. So I believe last Wednesday, yeah, we had an incident that was related to our code. And because of that, we'll have FCL, another one. But let me clearly show you that. I'm gonna share my screen just quickly. I'm okay. Still working on a draft for the FCL, so as you can see, I have still plenty of work to do here, especially for the work plan. But let me jump to the incident itself. So what happened, I believe, is it's not linked to the incident. So what happened was that we were just sitting and waiting, and essentially there was a customer that had 55,000 projects, and they had one security policy project assigned to the namespace. And Sashi did a great analysis what exactly happened, and I believe it's linked here. But essentially, because of this huge traffic generated by this single customer, we had huge CPU usage. I'm clicking in the wrong places. This one. So yeah, we had huge invocation of one of the workers that we have, sync scan policy worker. And internally what it does, it essentially removes all security approval rules or license policies and everything related to scan results policies, and then recreates them after there is a certain change. Either, as Sashi mentioned here, like two flows. First, regular to the worker that either whenever the repository with security with policies is updated, or every 10 minutes, or when there is a refresh project policy worker whenever there is some authorization change. So whenever someone is added to the project, removed from the project, or from the group, and so on. So there's like a event that is happening, and after this event is published, we are doing this synchronization. So because of that, and because how it's all working, because we'll still rely on the YAML and the repository, and we still need to read it, and we need to parse it and provide those updates. We've been invoking this worker like almost 400,000 times, which was a huge amount for a single customer to do. And as Sashi already mentioned, there was like 5,000 API requests to create delete members in a group. That resulted in a huge amount of worker that were spun out into the queue. So the resolution was that we disabled the worker for a few hours, then we slowly get this worker on track, and at the same time, Sashi was working on the fix. So the fix, if I'll go probably here and go to the, I'll just quickly show you the code because you'll probably understand it better than I will try to explain it. So previously we were doing scheduled policies reads pluck ID, and each read is created for a single project. So you can imagine we had like 80,000 something IDs that we've been trying to read, and there's like a huge SQL query that was generated, and this was significantly slowing down the database, or even like almost destroy it. And then we had to change it. So the change was simple because we changed it to the nested query instead. Although we were not able to find it earlier, we were not testing it properly. So because of that, and because of the whole thing that happened, we need to work on the FCL, because that was incident severity 2, and that was like public facing. That means we had customers that were affected. Thankfully, it was Thanksgiving, so it was not a huge impact for customers, but we still had the update in the status page. And because of that, we need to find a proper work plan, what we need to do to, first of all, prevent similar situation in the future. Whatever we need to do in the codes to improve the situation, that will not happen again. And then prepare a plan for the next milestones to ensure that we have that working, and we will not be facing similar situations. So what I need you to do is to read the incident review, especially what Sashi did in the root cause analysis, because that's a huge and and great source of truth that we can use to understand what happened and how we could avoid that. And then think about and give me your ideas. Think about things that we can improve and things that we can work on, just to reduce the risk of similar things in the future. So that's one ask for you. I'm planning this that we'll have FCL starting on Friday, so I want to have all work determined by the end of the week. The big problem with this FCL is that, I mean, not a problem, but a challenge definitely for us, is that the whole team will be involved, and we'll stop for a minute, and as we will determine the scope, everyone will have some task to do to work within the week, and then we'll finish that, and then we can continue working with the current priorities. But these are like few things that we need to consider. First of all, this is very important that we will resolve at least partially the problem, and we'll be able to increase the observability and at least be able to have some tests that we can run periodically to understand if there's something that we need to improve in terms of performance. But the like other thing is that we have product priorities that we also need to work on, especially that custom YAML is very important, as we need to release it before deprecating the compliance pipeline. So we need to find a good balance how we would like to do that. So the good thing is that I believe, Andy, most of the work for custom YAML is finished or almost finished. So yeah, we'll work on that. Grant, for you, I have prepared the update for the priorities page. To state that we will work on this epic database read model for scan result policies. It's a short update. I believe this is a good time that we have last few minutes. If you have any ideas, questions, something you'd like to raise, something that we can discuss here synchronously.
Just to confirm that last point,
Yeah.
Alan, you wanting to move that up. Go ahead and move that up as an action for the FCL.
Yeah. So we will. Yeah. So this one, just to state that our priority for now will be focusing on resolving any performance issues, and that's why in our priorities we'll list it as a first item. Although probably we're gonna update also the target release. I believe I have a MR for that already. Yeah, this is the technical debt that we were aware of, that we've planned to work on, and it happened, by accident, but also by our actions that what we were like I haven't been focused on testing, especially load testing and so on. But yeah, we were aware of that at some point we need to refactor it. That's why it was in the priorities list, but we wanted to deliver first the most important items and then focus on that. Now we need to change that a little bit and crucially state that some things might be postponed because of that, but we would like to focus on this priority instead. So we need to, I don't know how yet, but we need to discuss it with, I need to discuss it with you, Grant, probably, how to message that and how to focus on other items as well. I'm not sure yet.
Yeah, and that epic you think will also be kind of a direct correlation with the issue with this incident? Like this is something that will like help us prevent this type of incident occurring in the future, or just it's another
Yeah.
tech debt item in that same
No.
similar bucket?
So we were aware that because for now we have this YAML file in the repository, and whenever it's updated, we are doing something. And what we need to do is, instead of like doing whenever there is an update, delete all and recreate all things in the database, like approval rules, policies, and everything else. We would like to switch that to focus only on things that has changed. So whenever there was an update to the policy, we would like to first update the read model. And based on the changes in the database, for example, update only the project that was affected by the policy, or update only approval rules that were changed, and so on. So we would like to switch from delete all, recreate all to the model, or recreate only what was changed. So this will significantly allow us to reduce the amount of calls that we're doing to database, to Sidekick, and so on. So these are so definitely this will help, because that was our goal, to work on this read model. At some point we understood that we need to do that, because otherwise we'll have similar situations. So we were aware.
Yeah, and definitely that one was top of mind as soon as we finished custom YAML. So
yes.
I know it's been waiting in the wings, and so it's definitely a good one to prioritize while we have an FCL anyway. So I like that idea. Just want to make sure I have the right context there.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, my other question was there was a note in there about this kind of a workflow, I guess, that the customer had that contributed to the issue, and they were, I think if I caught it, was creating and deleting users at a pretty large volume. Is that just like they're just doing this generically, like for some other reason, or is this part of their flow? Was this part of like some security policy workflow? If that makes sense. Do we know why they were doing this?
So this is something that I would like to ask this particular customer. From my perspective, and what's common for many customers, whenever they have a catalog of users, that they at some point they need to do some synchronization. Either like if you have Active Directory in Microsoft and you'd like to recreate those users in GitLab, they probably might do something like this. And then they'll have some kind of integration that will recreate those users in GitLab based on whatever they have. So we need to be prepared for those situations. We were never probably thinking about that this is the common workflow, but I believe you, especially for you, as you coming from integrations, I believe you saw similar things in the past, that like customers were recreating users at every time because they adding someone, they have this workflow. So yeah, I believe this is important to somehow catch that in the test plan.
And we're doing a check every time that they do the synchronization when they make a change to the user, modify it. Like, I don't know. Okay.
So whenever there's a user added to the group, user removed from the group, or any change happened to the authorization, so some user has changed the role, then we're doing synchronization of the security policies, because based on that we know who can approve and who cannot, and
Right.
and so on. So that's why.
Interesting. Okay. Yeah, that's really helpful. Thank you.
Yeah,
I
one
have
thing.
another
Yeah,
question.
go
Sorry.
ahead. No worries.
Not sure if it's too technical, but maybe for Sashi, about moving up the read model epic. When I read the analysis, I was thinking the bottleneck was mostly like recreating the approval rules and stuff, and not reading the YAML from the repository. But the security policy read is more about about making the YAML read more performant, right?
Yeah, so basically we have a caching on top of the YAML file, so that helps in not going to Gitly every time we want to read the YAML. But the thing is, with a huge scale of group having a large number of projects, we might have multiple number of workers invoked at the same time. And if we have in-performant queries within the worker, this would be the problem. The other side is even though if the update happened to the YAML does not have any impact on any other projects, we would still update that project by deleting and recreating all the approval rules, because we don't check if the changed content in the YAML actually affects that particular project. Or rather, we also do that even if a protected branch is deleted or created. So we need to check if that particular change actually affects any of the policies or any of the MRs that are already created. So those kind of things can be done if we have the policy in DB, so that we can refer
Okay.
directly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, makes sense. Thanks.
Yeah, thank you. The main question for probably for front-end engineers is how to use your help with all of that. I was thinking about some kind of end-to-end testing that we can implement, but I'm not sure. Like if Alexander or Arthur, if you have any idea that what we could do to help with FCL with your skill set, yeah, let me know in the issue.
Okay, will do.
Thank you. All right. Do you have anything else? Any other questions, concerns, anything you'd like to talk about? Nope. Then enjoy your week. And yeah, see you next week. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.